Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Season 5 begins!
Nice. The season of the audience. This is going to be a good one. Because this is not a forgotten gem.
Today we are doing Mike Field's favorite movie.
No, that's incorrect. How do you let some guy talk to you like that?
You never once did I smile. Never once did I laugh. While I watched this movie with my mouth agape, I could actually feel my soul leave my body. Hello, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. As you may know already, each episode we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it's because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the movie simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. But this season, we're not picking the movies. You, the audience, have selected all our films. We're going to discuss what we love, like, or maybe don't like about your movie, but we thank you for sharing your passion for the film. And as always, we recommend that everyone revisits the movie we're talking about this week. You never know. You could discover your own forgotten gem. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to let everyone know by rating, reviewing, and subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to this podcast.
This is going to be a good one. Because this is not a forgotten gem.
Today we are doing Mike Field's favorite movie.
No, that's incorrect.
Mystery Men.
Incorrect. Incorrect.
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now.
Mike, tell us why you love Mystery Men so much.
I will proceed for the next 45 to 55 minutes explaining to you why I don't love Mystery Men. Now, listen, I know that we've talked about before that I really enjoy this season because it's movies that we wouldn't necessarily pick. So while I didn't choose this movie, I'm perfectly okay. It was tough to rewatch it, but I was perfectly okay to talk about it and go through it with you, of course, Mr. Butler. But this movie was suggested or was chosen by another podcast. It's called the Countdown Podcast, or the Countdown Movie and Television Reviews. So you can find them on Twitter at the Countdown PC. I'm going to read you their Twitter description, and then I'm going to read that first. So hosts Paul and Wayne each week rip into each other while providing down-to-earth movie reviews and counting down film lists. They're part of CC Radio. They're actually located in Perth, Australia, so a little international flair today.
I like it.
You can find them obviously on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. I'll just real quickly read their description on Apple Podcasts in case you didn't catch it before. The Countdown is a weekly comedic podcast in which two massive film buffs count down a topic in order of awesomeness from 10 to 1 while picking apart the other's list. So if you like people fighting, I'm sure if you're listening to us, because that's what's about to happen. So now that I have just basically told you who suggested it, why don't we hear from them on why they wanted us to do Mystery Men? Take it away, guys.
Hello, Mikes. This is Paul from the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast, and just wanted to drop by today to say thank you so much for choosing a film which I suggested to you for today's episode, that of course being Mystery Men. Now, this is a film that no one talks about, which is basically the reason why I thought it might be fun for you to revisit it as part of Forgotten Cinema. It's one that I have very fond memories of from the very late 90s, 1999 and the early 2000s. I would have watched it 3 or 4 times from memory because I just found it so damn funny. Like, I didn't really know at that particular point in my life that subverting superhero tropes was going to be something that I enjoyed, but boy, did I ever. Very, very funny. Yes, juvenile humor at times, and yes, it plays very much with its tongue in cheek throughout, but this is a film which is, I find anyway, incredibly hilarious with some really memorable lines. On our show, Wayne and I still will refer to the line from Wes Studi that, we are a number 1, all others are number 2 or lower. And then there's Ben Stiller's Mr. Furious. Arguably for me, Ben Stiller's never been better, as sad as that is to say, because I know he's been in some great films. And then the supporting cast beyond him is pretty damn great too. Some really inventive, different characters, from William H. Macy as the shoveler. So all he does is hit people with his shovel. He's a construction worker who hits people with his shovel. Paul Rubens as the spleen, who's flatulence. I mean, I know you talked about all this, or you're going to talk about all this. So yeah, and even Jeffrey Rush just chewing the scenery as Casanova Frankenstein. I think he's just an amazing actor, and when he's on, he is on. So look, I'm sure you're going to break this down in great detail, and I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but I just want to say thank you again for choosing this one for me to listen to. I'm really looking forward to this episode, and keep doing what you're doing. It's a fantastic show. Really enjoy it. Thanks so much, Mikes. My name again, Paul from the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews. You can find us if you type that in to Google. Cheers, guys.
Good points. Good points.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. We don't know what you said, but it's good stuff.
I'm sure Field doesn't agree with it.
Oh, that's not fair.
And now let's find out why.
You check them out. They suggested this movie, and we, of course, I believe you chose this, right? When we went through the lists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You certainly did not choose it.
I did not. So we are going to do Mystery Men. So let's get right to it. I guess I'll just give the brief synopsis. Man, I'm really not looking forward to this. Champion City already has a superhero, the appropriately named Captain Amazing, played by Greg Kinnear. But that doesn't deter the city's 7 quirky amateur crime fighters who use the captain's capture at the hands of villain Casanova Frankenstein, played by Academy Award winner Jeffrey Rush, as motivation to prove themselves. The only problem is that their strange powers, silverware hurling, bowling, shovel skills, incompetent invisibility, and deadly flatulence aren't doing them any favors. So Mystery Men came out on Friday, August 6, 1999. It has a runtime of 121 minutes, rated PG-13, a production budget of $68 million. Its opening weekend, it did $10 million. Domestic, 29, and worldwide, 33. A flop. That should have been your first indication.
But not in our hearts.
Oh, man.
Not in our hearts.
It's produced by Goler Productions and Dark Horse Entertainment, distributed by Universal Pictures. So it's directed by Kinka Usher, and he has done nothing else except Volvo shorts. I will, you know what? I'm going to jump right into this. Quote, I'm going back to commercials when this is done. I've had enough. I'd much rather do my little 1-minute shorts that I make than deal with all this nonsense. End quote. I couldn't agree more. Mr.
When did he
Usher.
give that quote? Does it have like when he?
I don't know. I don't know if it's from him, but it might have been. I have a couple of things here where people talk about what happened on the set, and that might have been just one of the stories. But I think it was probably after. You know, I think he was heard saying it on set. I believe that was what it was. It was on set. Written by Neil Cuthbert, he wrote Adventures of Pluto Nash,
Another winner. Oh my God.
Return of the Swamp Thing, and Hocus Pocus. So that's okay.
Yeah.
Cinematography by Stephen H. Burham. He is an Academy Award nominee for Hoffa. He's done The Outsiders, Body Double, The Untouchables, and The Shadow, a season 2 episode. The first season.
That's right.
Yep. For us. And he's got and I just listed those 4 movies. He's got a ton of other awesome credits. So I don't know why he did this movie. Composer Stephen Warbeck. He's an Academy Award winner for Shakespeare in Love. He's also did Billy Elliot, Quills, and Proof.
Quills is another Jeffrey Rush one.
So is Shakespeare in Love, which is probably why.
Right.
Yeah. Edited by Conrad Buff. He is an Academy Award winner for Titanic. He also did Terminator 2, The Abyss, and 13 Days. He's done mostly James Cameron movies as well. 13 Days is awesome, by the way. Produced by Lawrence Gordon, Lloyd Levin, and Mike Richardson. They have a plethora of production credits. Rocketeer, The Diehards, Field of Dreams, Watchmen, United 93, Hellboy, Polar, The Legend of Tarzan, The Mask. Those are not, they didn't all do all of them, but I didn't want to list who did what. So those are a lot of the movies under those 3 guys. So this movie stars Ben Stiller as Mr. Furious. You know him from Tropic Thunder, of course. Zoolander. Hank Azaria as the Blue Raja. You know him from Simpsons, I'm sure, because he's like 20. How many years did they have? 30?
Simpsons are 30 years.
30 years,
yep. Yeah.
He's also Brockmire's an awesome TV show, which I haven't watched the last 2 seasons, but if you haven't caught Brockmire, it's pretty good. He's also in The Birdcage. William H. Macy as the Shoveler or whatever. He was nominated for Academy Award for his role in Fargo. Magnolia, he's known for Shameless on TV and Boogie Nights. Janeane Garofalo as the Bowler, or Baby Bowler, as Eddie Izzard calls her in the movie. Wet Hot American Summer, Reality Bites, and if you were here listening last week, Clay Pigeons.
Yeah, that's right.
Paul Rubens is the Spleen. We all know Paul Rubens is Pee-wee Herman, right?
That's right.
He's also the voice of the Navigator in Flight of the Navigator. No, not the Navigator, the ship in Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, really?
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, he's the voice, yeah.
That's awesome.
Kel Mitchell as the Invisible Boy from Kenan and Kel and Good Burger. You all probably know Kenan from SNL. Greg Kinnear, not Kel, his partner.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Greg Kinnear as Captain Amazing, as I said. He was nominated for Academy Award for As Good as It Gets. He's also in the remake of Sabrina, Little Miss Sunshine, Nurse Betty. Jeffrey Rush.
Oh, well, you missed Ghost Town, which is another episode we did.
I apologize. Season 3, episode 1.
Yes.
He was, season 4, episode 1.
Oh, my bad. You're a bigger FC fan than me.
So check that one out. Jeffrey Rush is Casanova Frankenstein. He actually won an Academy Award for Shine, as I said before. King's Speech, Shakespeare in Love, and he's what's his name in the Pirates movies? Barbosa. Okay. Eddie Izzard as Tony P, Ocean's 13, Across the Universe, and he was in that TV show The Riches with Minnie Driver.
And he's fantastic in Hannibal.
Correct. Wes Studi or Study, I'm not sure, is a Sphinx. It's from The Last Mohegans, Deep Rising, and Heat. Lena Olin is in this movie for a hot minute. She's the doctor that releases him. Dr. Annabelle Leake. She was nominated for Academy Award for Enemies, a love story, but she's also in the new Hunters TV show. She's in Alias, which the first 3 seasons of Alias are fantastic, and then the second 2 stink. Claire Forlani, she has returned. This is 99, so this might be the movie she did after Meet Joe Black. If you remember us, we did Meet Joe Black.
That's right. Also season 4.
Season 4, episode 2, I believe. She's also in Mallrats and more recently 5 Feet Apart. Tom Waits as Doc Heller. Shortcut, 7 Psychopaths, not a favorite of mine. He was nominated for an Oscar for a song for One from the Heart. And then Ricky Jay as Vic Weems. He's not even in this that much either. He's in the beginning. He plays Amazing's publicist or I think it's his publicist. He's in Boogie Nights. He's a big time magician. I think he's passed away actually. He's in Boogie Nights and Magnolia. And then Michael Bay is in this movie.
I thought he was in there. I have a note. It was like, is that Michael Bay?
Yeah, he plays one of the frat boys. I'm just my note here is why? All right. So this movie, like I said, came out on August 6th, Friday. So the same day you had. Now, I don't know if we have mentioned this before, but I think it's relatively known in, I guess, movie aficionado, movie fan circles that 99 is probably the last greatest year of movies.
Yes.
So there are a lot of great films in 99. The week that this came out, this is not one of them. The week that this came out, you had the Thomas Crown Affair, but you also had The Sixth Sense. So immediately it got blown. The Sixth Sense killed everything that week. The week before, so you had Wednesday openings, but then you had the Wednesday was the 3rd of August. You had The Iron Giant and Dick with Michelle Williams and Kirsten Dunst, both really good. Iron Giant's fantastic, and Dick is very funny. But then that 30th, the July 30th, which is the full week before this movie, you had Runaway Bride, Deep Blue Sea, which is kind of like, I don't mind Deep Blue Sea. The Blair Witch Project, which was huge. Mm-hmm. And then you had an limited release, Twin Falls, Idaho, which is by the Polish brothers. Did you ever see that one?
I know of it, but I don't think I ever saw it.
It's probably their. I'm trying to remember the movie after it. It's probably one of their more mainstream movies, but it's definitely an indie, and it's definitely different. But I enjoyed it. And then the week after the Mystery Men came out, so August 13th, you had Bowfinger, which is very funny.
Bowfinger's great.
Detroit Rock City. And Broke Down Palace. Now, remember last week, or was it the week before? Yes, last week. We were talking about Vince Vaughn and Joaquin Phoenix were in that movie, Return to Paradise. And I was like, oh, that's like similar to this other movie that came out with Claire Danes. That's Broke Down Palace.
Nice.
So anyways, there's probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 movies right there that I would tell you that are very good in that span.
Just within that 2 week span.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if Mystery Men was not as bad as I think it was, and it was just kind of like okay,
it was always going to.
It was gonna have a tough time breaking through there.
Now, do you know why there were Wednesday releases the week before?
In summer, probably just to get these movies out.
Summer, yeah.
Well, it's August, so you have you're trying to squeeze everything in. Plus, everything kind of like you want a summer release.
I know we've done that in the theater toward the end of August. Like, hey, let's get these in right before school starts. But to do it that early in August is unusual, at least for. Again, I came into the theater way later, so maybe that's why. Well,
Wednesday's releases were, I don't know if they are as prevalent now back then. And I hate Wednesday releases when we did it because it messes up the schedule. But I think they had a lot more Wednesday releases back then than I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, they have them.
All right.
Now, why do you like this movie? Like, I'm just going to ask you, like, I absolutely, before we get started, and you say it in the beginning, I absolutely respect the fact that this was chosen, and I understand people liking this movie, and that is fine. But in terms of me and you, why do you like this movie?
Well, first of all, did you mention that it's based on a comic book?
I did not. I figured we'd get to that. Okay. I know it is. I don't care. That's not an excuse.
That's not one of the reasons I've never read the comic book. I mean, when I was in 1999, and I saw this, I don't think I saw this in theaters, but I think I saw this right when it came out. I was 12. So
That's not an excuse, man. You watched it again.
it's all fart jokes and stuff. I did watch it again, and I didn't like it as much this time.
It sucks.
But-
I shouldn't say that. That's terrible. It stinks.
It's not. I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. There are still some good parts to it. I like Hank Azaria playing the Blue Raja, and I like how he does the accent. And I like his character moments with his mom. I like William H. Macy's just straight up no nonsense portrayal. I like his speech about the egg salad.
Which is basically taken from Shakespeare. It's not original. Let's put it that way. But it's fine. That's fine. That doesn't mean nobody else, that's done before. But go ahead.
I don't like Ben Stiller in this film.
Yeah, that's one of my big things. But to
We
your
can
point
go
about
over that, yeah.
To your point about William H. Macy and Hank Azaria, I have him, both of them, and Janeane Garofalo are all three that
Yes.
I like in this movie.
I like Janeane Garofalo a lot. I like the guy who plays the Sphinx.
I don't.
He's a little. You don't really get a good sense of his character because he's.
For some reason,
You don't know which way he's going.
right?
Yeah.
For some reason, I remembered that he bails on them at some point.
That's what I had remembered, yeah.
And maybe just when he was like, "Let's run away," that kind of thing. So you mentioned Stiller, and I here's my problem, and it's just the choice of it's not him personally, because I like Ben Stiller as an
So
actor.
do I,
He's
yeah.
funny and stuff, and he's good. I just in this movie, you're setting him up as the lead. And you want me to root for him. And I cannot root for him because it's very annoying when all I hear is him telling me how his rage is mounting. Like, I don't find it something where like, I know it's funny, but if he's the main guy, it's not funny for him. If he's like in Inside Out, the movie Inside Out, the anger guy that's played by Louis Black, angry, he's not the main character. So all his stuff is funny because he's a supporting character.
You're not following him,
The
right?
emotion is not. Yeah, you have taken that guy and you have put him as this is the main guy in this movie, and I don't want to root for him. And it's annoying. It's super annoying to the point where I don't care when he gets angry at the end. I don't get any fights.
He's just a jerk. He's just a jerk. And he doesn't know where his character is, and he's sad and angry at the same time. His character doesn't really have an arc. I don't believe his love story with Claire Forlani.
Oh, they shove that in there.
Like she wants nothing to do with him, and rightly so at the beginning. And then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, all right, you could walk me home."
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden she falls in love.
That's shoved in there just so that Casanova can have her at the end, and he can have his stupid fight.
Like I believe in his relationship with the bowler a lot more because he spars off the bowler. They have similar personalities, and she challenges him, whereas no one else challenges him in the entire thing. They're just really okay with his bad, shitty attitude. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the end when you talk about the egg salad sandwich, when William H. Macy, the shoveler, is having that speech, he's the leader, and
Right.
they kind of have that in there, and you kind of can sense that, but it's almost like the audience can see that, but nobody in the movie realizes that
He's the shoveler's,
yeah,
the guy in charge.
And for those who don't know, Ben Stiller first came out of the scene with the Ben Stiller show. It was a Fox show, right?
It was on Fox. Yep.
And that was like his big thing. That was his big moment. And Janeane Garofalo was on that show. So they have already a chemistry there.
Right.
And, and they obviously starred together. Well, even though they didn't have scenes together, they were in Reality Bites. But they kind of came up together. So that makes sense that their back and forth works because they're familiar with each other.
They're also both comedians.
Yeah.
So I think that helps a little bit more.
Oh, of course. But they're in a different movie. All of these people are in different movies. I think that's my biggest thing. Like there's so many places I can go. So many different ways I can go here. One of my notes when I was watching it was that, man, this feels like Batman Forever. Like it just looks like Batman Forever. That's not a good note. I'm just like, God, it's like Batman Forever is terrible. And Batman and Robin is worse, but Batman Forever is not good.
I think you should rewatch Batman Forever.
No.
It's not that bad.
You want to tell me the Riddler stuff's good? Sure. You want to tell me the Two-Face stuff is good? No.
Two-Face stuff is
no,
not
because
good.
Two-Face is doing the Riddler.
Yeah.
And sorry, it doesn't work. Regardless of that. But it makes sense then when I look through the notes and that they use sets from Batman Forever in this movie. So they reuse the sets. So I'm just like, that makes sense. Absolutely makes sense.
I don't understand what they were going with. I kind of understand what they were going with the fake city and making it part Chinese, part America.
That's probably from the comic, right?
I'm sure it is. And it's something a lot of comics do. But you also purposely say that it's set in 1999. It's set when they're doing it because they talk about the new millennia and stuff like that. I would have gone and said it's the future
Yeah.
because your set makes no sense. The world you're establishing makes no sense at all to me.
Like Captain Amazing has all these patches that because he's being sponsored,
Right.
and one of them is Pepsi, but it's in Chinese.
And he throws a yuan. He throws a yuan in there, or yuan, or however you say it, a Chinese coin in the donation bucket too.
Yeah.
So it's like clearly it's like an amalgamation of American China.
That's the thing when they're at the diner and Furious pulls out, I got $150 right here, and these two like paper looks like Canadian bills. Yeah. That's not explained, and you probably should explain it because you have created this other world. Like you don't have any kind of narration.
Tell me it's in an alternate world universe, yeah, or just put that it's the future. Mention it's the future, or if they just never mentioned it was the present, I would also have been okay with that.
Yeah, right.
But they clearly mentioned that it's the present.
Well, speaking of the comic, one of the notes I have is that the Captain Amazing was made up because I guess the original guy was Carrot Man or Carrot Boy.
I can see why they wanted to do that.
Well, Mr. Furious and Shoveler are the only two characters that made it from the comic to the movie.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm going to just go through some of the stuff that I have down here about just the making of the movie. So according to Hank Azaria, when I guess in interviews, he said the cast argued constantly over the tone of the film, like what the comedic tone of the movie was. That's not good.
No.
If you don't know like what you're trying, and you have a lot of, and at 99, so Stiller, Garofalo, Macy, you have a lot of big time stars in this movie,
Right.
but you have a first time director and his only time directing a movie. And clearly you don't have any kind of, I bet you it was just kind of like, let's just have fun. Let's do this. Let's do that. And there was almost like no captain on the ship. And it feels like that. It feels like it's all over the place. It feels like there's just funny scenes to be funny.
Mhm.
They have the final fight scene at the end is long. It's almost like 45 minutes. The whole,
It's a giant chunk of the movie.
yeah. So his comment makes sense about them arguing. I also have here that at one point, Stiller and Kinnear got into a huge fight on set. And after that, Stiller wanted to be released from the film. He tried to get himself off the film.
Ben Stiller?
Yeah, and
Nice.
it didn't work. So there's something. I mean, just when I read those two things, I wasn't nodding my head like, yeah, that's right. But I was just like, that makes sense because this movie feels like just, hey, we did something. Here it is. Hopefully it hits. It doesn't feel like any serious consideration went into just how it would be received. They just thought, I wonder if like the execs watched it and they were just like, oof, we just let's put it out. Let's get it out and let's move on.
Yep.
This is because I understand that when it all comes together in terms of like at one point, Danny DeVito was going to direct this movie and he was going to be in it.
I'd actually, the movie probably would have been better if Danny DeVito.
Like it doesn't make any sense how King of Usher, first time director, comes in and is doing this big time movie. $68 million in 99 is a big budget movie.
Yeah.
And with
all
a
these
lot of
different
big
actors,
stars.
yeah.
Right. Like
It's tough to wrangle.
Exactly. So right from the start, it's problematic to begin with in terms of controlling everything. And what you have on screen, I think you feel that.
Absolutely. And then the fact that you're saying each person had their own ideas about the comedy works with like everybody's in their own movie.
Yes.
Like Paul Rubin's character, who I like Spleen. He's funny. He's definitely in his own even more cartoonish version of a film than Ben Stiller's Furious, than The Blue Raja. They're all in different movies, and Kel is definitely in a Nickelodeon, all that show. They're all doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm. And they never really explain the superhero nature of everybody.
Where they got their powers.
Yeah, the stuff with the powers and stuff like
they
that.
Explain Paul Spleen. They explain how he got his powers.
Right.
Janeane Garofalo, obviously Butler. They explain her powers.
Which is just the bowling ball.
The bowling ball is possessed by her father.
That's
she
it.
herself has
That's
no
it.
powers.
Her stuff with Spleen is funny when he's trying to kiss you. She's like, nope.
Sorry, Spleen. Sorry, there's just not enough beer in the world. But she says it like so apologetic.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
So I guess, I mean, I don't want to. I'm gonna nitpick the movie even more. One of my notes here is that everything happens in one night.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, we had the nursing home. Then you had the parole hearing where Captain Amazing goes to quote unquote release Casanova Frankenstein, and I'll get back to that. Then the diner scene. Then when he goes home to see his wife, like it's all in one night. It's like this is a long night. And then you do it again at the end of the movie where after Furious leaves the group and And he's like, I'm out of here. Screw you guys. And he goes to the diner and he has that conversation with Monica. And she's like, oh, maybe you should just go back. And then he decides to go back. He goes back. Then they go to attack Casanova and they accidentally kill Amazing. They go back to Waits at his lair to kind of regroup when he does the egg salad sandwich speech. They say goodbye to their loved ones. Then they go to the junkyard to build the machine car. Then they have the final attack in the movie. That's all one night.
Are you sure it's all one
I'm
night?
positive.
It seemed like one night.
No, it's all one night.
Because when Ben Stiller's in the diner, he's it's daytime.
Yeah, well, because he leaves the group in the daytime.
Yes.
Then he goes to the diner. He walks her home. And then from then on, that's the same night. It's the same night. You don't believe me?
I just don't know.
It is. It's the same night.
Well, no, because he leaves during the day. Then they go get the weapons during that same day. Yeah.
Yes. That's all one day. I can even go further. Yeah. It's day into night. It's 24 hours.
Is it not 3 nights? When did they go to save Captain Amazing? That's
that
a
night.
night scene too. That same night that they.
No, there's one night where they go. The first time when they first go, because he sees Captain Amazing being kidnapped.
Right.
He sees him go there. So they go there and then they get beat up and they leave.
Yes.
Then they go.
That's
and
the end of one night.
Then the Disco Boys meet them. And then the Sphinx shows up and the Sphinx trains them. They have the huge montage where the Sphinx trains them. So then, and yes.
No, in between that, Ben Stiller goes to work though, before the Disco Boys come get him.
No. Ben Stiller goes
Disco Boys come to kill him after the limo scene.
No. Ben Stiller goes to work to junk the car. That old lady yelling, junker, junk it. He hears that Lance is missing.
Okay.
Then he goes.
Then he goes to the. Okay.
Then they go to rescue him. But that's before. I'm talking about starting from Furious leaving the group, saying this is ridiculous. I'm out of here. From that point on, it's all one night until the end of the movie.
Right. Okay.
That's a lot of stuff for one night. So it was like, are you kidding me?
Maybe their nights are 14, 15, 16, 18 hours long. Who knows?
But it's just, it's stuff like that there's really just who cares? Who cares? Whatever. It's people like it because it's funny. People like it because it is. The parole hearing scene. So Amazing's plan is to release Casanova.
Yes.
Because he wants to be like,
he wants a new supervillain.
He wants a new supervillain to have it to get more endorsements and to get more fame. Okay.
Right.
So then Casanova's first night, he blows up the asylum. And then Amazing goes there and he's just going to, so Amazing's plan is to go there. One night it took. He's going to bring him in front of nobody. And he's going to bring it in. And he's not going to extend out their fight.
I was wondering that too. I was like, wait, don't you want to wait for him to build his master plan?
Right. And
you wanted a big fight.
And you could argue that he's an idiot, that Amazing's an idiot, or he's just, an egotistical dude.
I think he's egotistical, but I don't think he's an idiot because he knows all of Frankenstein's traps and he knows how to work the machine.
He's cocky.
He's cocky and he's an ass, but that's the thing is like, I think Amazing is more interesting than any of the other characters in the entire film.
I think his costume sucks.
His costume is overblown. It's very 90s superhero.
Right. Oh,
It's very, bat nipple kind of a thing.
And maybe I'm being a little too harsh. Maybe that's the point is they're making fun of superhero movies and making fun of, and that's fine. I think because nothing else works for me, that I view that as a negative now.
I think you view everything as a negative.
I do.
I think you are destroying this movie.
No, but I told you what I liked. I told you the characters that I liked. I told you that. I like the Disco Boys. I like the way they look. I like the Disco Boys when they're dancing and they're fighting. I enjoyed them. I enjoy
Disco's not dead.
I enjoy the PMS Avenger. And she's, I can only work. What did she say? I can only work 3 weeks out of the month.
Only work 4 days out of the month. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You got a problem with that? No, not at all. Not at all.
PMS Avenger. I only work 4 days a month. Is there a problem with that?
No. Whatever you say. We'll get back to you. Thank you so much.
Whatever.
There's things I enjoy, but on the whole, I like the skunk humping scene.
The skunk humping scene is I put that as my least favorite scene in the entire film. It's just so stupid.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It's not funny.
I
was just like, we get it. He smells bad. Come on.
Yeah, this joke's just enough already. Enough. And a lot of the jokes are like that fall flat. Like the joke when Furious comes back to the group and he's like, hey man, I lost my address book. It's like denim. It's got a cat on it. Now, as soon as he started that, I was just like, oh, please stop. Please end this. I
also don't like that they don't hint enough that his rage is actually a superpower. because it just seems like he's an ass. The whole
Yeah.
time. I mean, he's obviously an ass the whole time, but then at that scene where he talks about the address book, William H. Macy goes, "I saw you lift a city bus once over your head."
Yeah.
But we all believe it's real. It's like, no, we don't, because you didn't tell us that before.
And then he tells that, yeah, exactly. And then,
So it is a superpower. Okay.
but then he lies about it. Then he talks about it when he's like losing when she tells him to just be Roy.
I'm just Roy. Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, we just were told that you lifted a city bus, so you're not just Roy.
Yeah.
Now we're two different characters.
And even in that scene, when he goes back to the group and William H. Macy's, he's trying to apologize,
Right.
and he's like rage growing, and
Because he can't apologize.
and because he can't even do that. And William, why don't you just come with us? And he's like, rage subside. It's like, oh, fuck you, man. It's just, oh God, it's so annoying. And again, it might be annoying because he's perceived as the lead in this movie. He's,
Absolutely. There needs to be less on him. If he didn't have the Claire Forlani subplot, and there was maybe another scene with William H. Macy and his wife,
that would be better.
now William H. Macy's the main character, and we're all right.
There's more. There's
Or at least
more
they're
heart.
splitting it.
There's more heart and emotion in William H. Macy's plight as somebody who's been doing it for years, for 15, 16 years, and his wife trying to tell him to stop. But my one problem with that is the scene where she puts her hands on his face and they're having the conversation.
Yeah.
The extreme close-ups they use completely undercut
The emotion.
the emotion of that scene.
Right.
And it's off-putting. It's clearly for comedic effect, and that's not the scene. And again, that's somebody who doesn't understand that. And then they start having the extreme close-ups when Stiller's getting mad. And then I hated the extreme close-ups after that. I was like, I don't want this anymore. And maybe that's because they were trying to match frames in comics or something like that. But
it seemed very Ben Stiller showy, actually.
it did.
Very, very much that kind of comedy you would get in like these weird skit shows like Adult Swim has all the time and stuff like that, of just really just go for it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tim and Eric, like that wonky, zany comedy that's so out there
Mhm.
that doesn't work for most people, and doesn't work for you, clearly.
Oh,
It also doesn't work for me. And I think that's not something you put in like a mainstream audience film where you're putting that out there for, millions of people to see. What's great about Mystery Men is I think Ben Stiller probably learned a lot of his lessons in working with an ensemble going into Tropic Thunder, because Tropic Thunder is kind of the same thing,
But I've always
but much
felt
better.
But I've always felt that Stiller is a much better director. Like I shouldn't say much better director. Stiller's a very good director.
Right.
Not better or worse than his acting. He's a really good director, and a lot of his movies are dark and they're funny, like Cable Guy.
Yeah.
So I actually enjoy Ben Stiller as a director a lot. And I think that's also what helps Tropic Thunder. But because he directed it, and maybe he, I don't know. Maybe he did some of that here. Maybe he was trying to do some control here.
Well, I think that's maybe why I think if Danny DeVito did direct this, it would have been better, because you would have gotten more of that Death to Smoochie kind of vibe,
True.
that darker vibe, and it would have really solidified what the theme of the comedy would be.
Mhm.
Because I feel like we just keep saying that every superhero has their own idea of what the movie was going to be,
Right.
and it didn't end up.
They don't
working out
match.
like that,
They don't fit. And for those who don't know, DeVito directed Death and Smoochie, as Mike said. He also did War of the Roses, Kathleen Turner, Michael Douglas divorce. I guess it's a comedy, dark comedy. It's really funny.
A lot of his stuff is like a dark comedy.
But
it's really good.
I agree. He would have been a good choice. I think with all these people and a first time director, I think you already had a recipe. And let's be honest, the script's not the strongest thing ever. And that's to say maybe they made a lot of changes to it, because you just had one writer, but I doubt there was just one writer. I'm sure they were kind of picking and choosing from that constantly.
Right. So I kind of feel bad for, King of Usher, because when we talk about first time directors, we talk about, like, for season 4, we did Constantine. We talked about Francis Lawrence, and that was his first time directing a feature as well. And I feel like he only really had Keanu Reeves as his one thing. And I feel like Keanu Reeves is famously easy to work with and a nice guy and stuff like that. And you don't have to wrangle as many voices in one thing. You don't have an ensemble. Most scenes are Keanu Reeves in a room with maybe 2 characters. Whereas this guy's got like they've got 8 different people.
Well, you also have stronger source material for Constantine in terms of the script. And this guy, Lawrence, has done a ton of music videos beforehand.
So he'd already worked with talent, even if it wasn't
right.
actors.
And that clearly didn't derail his career, because he did I Am Legend 2 years later. So
no, Francis Lawrence has gone on to do a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. If Kinka Usher had more support from his cast, maybe it would have been better. Or if he didn't have so many personalities. I mean, you talk about Ben Stiller and Janeane Garofalo, William H. Macy, but even like Paul Rubens is famous as Pee Wee Herman at that point. That makes you nervous. And you got Hank Azaria is a ton of work at that point as well. Even if he's not maybe a huge name, he's probably pretty big in the industry in general.
Well, it feels like everyone shows up, and about a week and a half, 2 weeks into the movie, everyone's probably just like, "What have I done? What am I doing here?" And you couldn't get out of it now. And it probably looked great on paper. It was a great idea. It's, oh my, look how many people we got into this movie. You know, this can't not fail, and it did.
Now this is kind of more like a film thing, but did you notice when? Now this is streaming on Stars. This is how I watched it. I imagine
that's how I watched it as well. Yep.
There's the scene where Casanova's having his dinner where we meet Michael Bay's frat
Could
guy.
bring our brewskis. Yes, you may bring your brewskis. That's not his line, but I don't know. That's how he says it.
During this scene, the camera all of a sudden changes. It is blown out. It looks all grainy. It looks like you're suddenly seeing a film from the 70s.
When it goes to wide?
And it goes to wide. The only wide and close or mid. The only time it doesn't is during the extreme close-up. So anytime you're at wide or the mid shot, it's grainy. There's a lot of film grain going on. It's all of a sudden the colors are kind of blown out. And then it goes back into the extreme close-up, and then you get this clear picture. Because for the most part, the movie still looks good in terms of the quality of the picture. But then you get that one dinner scene, and it only happens at that one dinner scene. It looks like a film from the 80s all of a sudden. It looks like an old, untaken care of film.
When it goes to the wide
and mid, which is most of the shot. So he only goes extreme close-up twice during that dinner.
That could be film stock. They could have used a different film stock. They could have been used a different lens. But it's if they went to a really big wide there, they probably needed to put a big lens on lens on the camera.
But it's even the mid too. It's like both shots. It's just that one scene. I just didn't.
It could also be, you don't forget, you're putting this movie's pieced together to make the DVD or to, what they get to Stars. They might have had to use different prints. You know what I mean?
True,
So
yeah.
they might have had to take another. Not everything. This isn't a shot digitally, so usually what happens is they find one print that looks great. That usually doesn't go out for whatever to be seen in projection rooms and stuff like that. And that's what they make the DVD copy from, the digital copy from. But they might have had to splice something in there, so that could have been something like that, or it's just probably just maybe they just weren't paying attention. I mean, it happens.
Maybe
you noticed it. Nice
it was
job.
It was really jarring to me.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm looking for stuff like that. So
no, that's fine. That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
That's what we're here for.
That one scene just is like the rest of the movie at least looks and is lit really well, and then that not so much. I do like I like the weapons maker. I like that scene. I like all the different weapons he's got.
Do you like that? Do you like that time Tom Waits feels like he's made up his dialogue? Like he just was just like saying whatever. But there's a scene where he's at the end where he's talking and he has written the dialogue on his fingers because he couldn't remember all the words when he's talking about the franculator and stuff like that. So when he's talking, he's moving his hands around like in all these gestures so that's so he can read it. And the director liked that, so he kept it. But at times I'm watching him and I'm just like, is he making up words? Like, I think he's just kind of like saying whatever he wants, and that's fine. I mean, I don't mind Tom Waits in this movie or in general, so I was okay with it. But yeah,
I'm just here for the ladies.
That's right. No, I don't live here. He's picking up old ladies. I know. I thought he was gonna pick up the junkyard lady.
Oh,
yeah, she was. I think that was her last movie though, because she passed away after. But yeah, she was. Yeah, that
a lot of hair on that face.
That extreme close up bothered me too. It's just like, it's just, sometimes there's just too much ugly on screen. You know, like with what's his face? I'm thinking of Spleen with his face and his teeth. And I mean, I get it. Your superpowers, you have super flatulence, but what's the excuse with your entire face?
It's part of the gypsy curse. Because I smelt it. It would be me who forever dealt it.
Oh boy.
I kind of like that.
Listen, when I am in agreement with Artie Lang, who considers this the worst movie he's ever been in, there's something wrong. Now, Artie Lang was in the beginning. He was the leader of the Red Eyes.
The Red Eyes, yeah.
Who came, as soon as I saw that, I'm just like, oh boy.
Another weird camera thing I noticed was when Ben Stiller gets on his bike after the diner scene and he turns it around to go back to Captain Amazing.
That's a digital mat.
Yeah. Why? You were clearly on set. Now you're not.
Yeah, that's a digital mat. Yeah.
They were like, we need him turning around his bike. We need it.
Yeah.
It just cuts
a lot of sets. This whole thing's probably shot on sound stages.
I'm fine with that. I'd rather have that than digital mats all the time. But then you put him in digitally into this set that you were already on.
Yep.
I'm like, just have him turn the motorcycle around.
Well, even the effect, when they introduced the insane asylum in the beginning, that effect stunk. Like in terms of it's dated. And it was just, and you're watching, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is fake.
That's very Batman Forever, though.
Yeah.
That's very the Insane Asylum from Batman Forever.
Speaking of the Insane Asylum, and I brought up Lena Olin was in this movie.
I was going to.
Oh, go ahead.
I was also going to say that.
Go ahead.
No, go.
I'm just, they bring her up and they show her and she's talking about how he has been reformed and he's trying to, and then they have her later on where like she's evil with him. She's whatever she is. Like
she was clearly trying to break him out. She's his Harley Quinn.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why you need the amazing stuff. Because to me, I'm wondering like, okay, so did she have scenes that were cut out? That they cut her out of the movie? I'm sitting there going, it makes much more sense if she just gets him out and he goes off on his tear and then he gets Amazing and all that stuff. I don't understand why Amazing shows up. Why do we need Lance there to come in and to get him to be released? It doesn't make any sense. And you don't need it. And you completely cut out a character because of it. So why is she there? She has no sense for her
to break him out
there.
and her plan failed. There should have been more with her, and there probably was.
Right.
Because then you get her at the dinner scene and she clearly is not cool
she's
with hanging out
annoyed
with all the villains.
Right.
Yeah, she thinks they're all annoying. But you really don't get a clear sense of her relationship with Casanova or why she's doing what she's doing. Did he brainwash her?
You get none of that.
Evil? Was she a supervillain?
Right. And if you're going to have a comment on superhero movies and just in general, then that should be in there. Because when Lance shows up and he's reading from the paper and they take a shot of it's his grocery list. It's like, well, number one, you don't need that cutaway because you already know he's full of shit. So it doesn't matter what's on the paper. It doesn't make anything. It doesn't make make the joke any funnier. We already know he's full of it. So why have that cutaway? And again, he doesn't even need to be there. She could have just got him out, and then you would have, you know what I mean. Then they could have blown it up, and then you could have had I don't know. Again, maybe this is we're delving into how I would make the movie, and I shouldn't do that. We always say we don't want to do that, but. Honestly, it needs that right now. Like, I feel like I need to like this. How about this? Here's a good thing.
Okay.
Here's a good thing. This is a movie that I'd be okay with getting a remake or a reboot.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it was a movie that it's a decent idea, but it needs to be done differently. And so this is a movie that I would be okay with if they rebooted.
This would be This would be a fun HBO 6-part limited series, and if it did well, you could do more series. But spread it out so each character really gets their own kind of full episode, explaining their backstory, explaining who they are, their kind of style of comedy. And then when they come in, they can kind of meld it and make it work.
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
I also don't think this movie it does not help it being PG-13. It does not help it being restricted to a PG-13 formula. And also, some of the stuff they do to Captain Amazing's body is not really PG-13.
Oh, when they kill him?
Oh, man, they kill him.
Well,
I love that part of the movie.
Probably because it's very visual effecty kind of thing. It seems phony. That's probably why it wasn't as, that's probably why they didn't give it the hard rating. But you also have to remember, we are 20 years ago. So I don't think the idea of having an R-rated superhero movie was something that they would consider.
Oh, no, that's definitely something very relatively new. Right.
So agreed. If you did that now and it was a movie or a TV show or whatever, and you went for a hard R or TVMA or something like that, yes, I think that would benefit it as well. And I mean, I'm okay with the series idea. I'm kind of sick and tired of everything being a series, but I'm okay with that idea. But I think if any kind of form you would take this movie, this is the perfect example of a movie that did not. It was a good premise. It was not executed properly. So you know what? Go ahead and get a mulligan and do it again. That's fine. Movies that are done well and then they redo them again are just money grabs. And I'm not okay with that. But this, okay, go do it again. And because I remember, I think one of the reasons why also I have such a strong feeling against this movie.
Yes. Explain your hatred.
No, I remember looking forward to the movie. I remember, I liked a lot of the people in the movie. I thought the trailer was funny. I was like, I kind of want to see this movie. And I saw this movie in theaters and I was so disappointed that it just kind of turned everything sour. And I know that there's a lot of vitriol coming on this side of the mic but you burned me. And so maybe that's why partly was the reason. And just moving, and as we, revisiting it 20 years later, and I've seen it on TV. I've kept it on when it's on just to kind of watch it, to see it. Watching it 20 years later, I think now having a reason why, like reading about it, what went into it, just kind of like being able to study it,
analyze it. Yeah.
Right. Kind of helps me figure out why I didn't like it. But I just remember being extremely disappointed in this movie when it first came out. You disappointed me, Mystery Man. Again, that's not to say we don't appreciate that this was suggested to us. I'm completely fine with that. I just, unfortunately we didn't like it, or I didn't like it. Mike liked it. Butler's a big fan.
I am not. When I saw it back in 1999, I did really like it. I thought it was really funny. I actually liked Furious and his inability to do anything.
Sure. But he's not a
on
lead.
The limo.
Yeah.
But yes, watching it again, knowing what I know about film, knowing what I know about story, and just people in general, he's a jerk and he's not fun to watch.
And you're able to verbalize why you don't like it. Just doesn't make sense to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is something that you have to learn by watching movies and just talking about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, I really always had a crush on 90s Janeane Garofalo, so that didn't help when I was 12.
Didn't.
But yeah, now watching it now, it's like there are still some stuff. There's still a lot I like. I like the Tom Waits stuff. I like the Bowler. I like Blue Raja. I like the Shoveler still. I love the stuff, with his the talk in the kitchen. I don't love the extreme close with the glove. But I like how she's like, don't do it. And then the kid's like, hey, Daddy, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And like, that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah, the direction undercuts it.
Yeah. The Claire Forlani stuff is so pointless.
Yep.
And she just seems so bored in this film.
Yeah.
That it's just like, why is this here?
She's us. We're all bored in this film.
The world doesn't make sense, but I still do also like the Captain Amazing stuff. I think Greg Kinnear plays Captain Amazing really, really well. Mm-hmm. I love that cockiness that I'm Superman, but I'm an ass. I love when they ask, are you Lance? Oh yeah, I just take my glasses off and I'm not there anymore. And he's like, oh. I'm just joking. I just really wanted to see what your reaction would be. I've always wanted to see
flip the switch.
Moron. Oh, that's not good.
Okay, you know what? Can we just start again? Is there some sort of like reset button on this thing?
No, you little freak. There's no button for resetting.
Flip the switch, lady. Don't stare at me. Lift your left arm. Flip it, you moron. Whoa, you're a moron.
I am not a moron.
You're a moron. Oh, flip the switch. Flip it.
That's not cool.
Thank you. I will do it. I'll do it. Flip the switch, lady. Don't look at me like that. Flip this one. Yeah. Uh-oh. Wrong switch.
Like Greg Kinnear's funny. He's very good.
Yes.
No,
we
he
talked
does.
about that in Ghost Town. That he's underutilized, I think, nowadays.
I think he's probably in one of his, you have the ebb and flow of your career, and just some things just don't hit. I mean,
right.
he's doing a lot of like smaller films, and that might be just by choice, and that's fine.
Yeah. For
a while, he was in everything, and he was good. I remember him from Talk Soup, and that's where he got his start. So I think we talked about that in Ghost Town as well.
Did,
yeah. So did you get the Simpsons reference in the movie?
Which one?
How dare you? I got it. So when the Blue Raja is in his house and his mother busts in and he's like, Mom, get out of here. He has Brooklyn accent or his regular accent now. Yeah. And then he goes to sit down. He sits on a fork. He says Clavin when he.
Oh yeah, I did notice that.
Okay, yeah. So there you go. I thought. And then did you get the subtle the Shatner references in this? Okay. So I guess I don't know why, and maybe just thought it was funny, but there's when Stiller does he tell Sphinx? I don't know if he says, don't tell me how to act. It sickens me. Mm. He says that line.
Yeah.
So that is when Shatner was recording something. I can't remember what it was, but he kept saying the word sabotage wrong. He kept saying it sabotage or something like that. He kept saying it wrong. And he says, they say that you're saying it wrong. He's like, and Shatner tells him, don't tell me how to act. It sickens me. Like, so they use that. So he has that line. And then you actually hear Garofalo saying the whole stuff about sabotage, I believe towards the end when they're walking out after being saved or something like that.
Okay, yep.
You hear her kind of saying that. So that's a reference to just something that happened in Shatner's life.
Well, I know Ben Stiller is a huge Trekkie.
Yeah.
And I know he's a huge fan of William Shatner. So I think that's probably why he added it.
I'm surprised you've never seen him in a Star Trek movie or a TV show.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever guest starred as like an alien or something. But yeah, you'd think you would, because I know he's a big Trekkie.
What was the movie where Christian Slater's just in it? Like he just pops in. Remember the movie where? Was it 6 or 7? Was it 6? He just comes in and says like, "Hey, you're wanted on." He's in
6.
shadow.
I think it's 6.
He's like that. I assume that was because he was a Star Trek.
It's got to be back then.
Yeah.
Christian Slater. Oh yeah. For
So
sure.
I was like, that's Christian Slater, but they didn't say anything. I'm like, that's cool. I don't know how I got on that tangent, but yeah, no. So, I guess I didn't change your opinion, right? You still. I don't. That's not what I was trying to do.
A lot of the stuff that you have issues with the movie, I now have issues with the movie too. The movie was not as good as I remember it, but I also don't think it's quite as bad as you remember it. Is it the worst?
Really?
Is it the worst film we've done on Forgotten Cinema? Maybe.
I think it's
the one with the most issues. No, I don't want to say worst film, but the one with the most issues, the one with the most stuff that
I would think that
should be fixed.
This wouldn't have been a film that we would choose. I would not have put this on the list.
I would have put it on the list because I wanted to watch it again and try to remember it.
That's fine.
But then I would have moved it over to Forgotten Fight Club.
Well, then
but it would have been tough for me to find all the likes at that point.
I'm being reserved. I think if and when we get to Forgotten Fight Club as a spinoff, that's more just kind of for entertainment purposes as well. I would be purposely attacking.
This is similar to Sphere. This is like a sequel to the Sphere episode we recorded as our pilot episode we never released. In terms of something I remembered liking, we watch it and it's just you just start to see all this once you know about film. It's interesting to see like films like this, like once you know about film and you've learned film and you've studied story, being able to go back and just realize what, like you said, being able to verbalize what's wrong with it, being able to be like, no, that was good. And then watching it and go, it's not that great. And this is why.
Right.
And that makes it almost worse because it's like these other people also study. That's their job as well. And it's just, come on.
This movie, that's a good point. Well, that you said it feels like a job. This movie feels like it's just the paycheck, the job. We signed up for this movie. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when you do a film, you're in it for the art, you're in it for the story you're telling. This movie feels like it's just a job.
It might not have been that way at first, but yeah.
True, I agree. I don't think any of them start off like that. No. I get
but
you.
As
there.
soon as they got on,
yeah. I think it's just for everyone. It was like just get through it and let's move on, kind of thing. So before because I didn't, for those who like this kind of nuggets. The jetpack sound effect that for Amazing is actually the same sound effect for the Batmobile from Batman.
Nah.
I know that's only one time you see that, but also the layer that Heller's workstation when they go in the exterior, like they go to like the carnival kind of thing. That's actually the exterior set for the Funhouse 1981 horror movie called The Funhouse. So just for those who like that out there.
Nice.
We haven't asked this. I'm going to ask it now. I know we've kind of figured out. I think we can kind of figure out what it is, but why would this movie be considered forgotten?
I think
kind of like bullet point it.
We're talking about something that was made 21 years ago now.
Right.
So it wasn't really well received. I don't think the comedy kind of holds up nowadays. I don't think it's the same kind of comedy people kind of want in films. When I was younger, it used to always be on TV. And I guess it's on Stars now, but it used to always be on Comedy Central. And now I think it's just kind of dated. It's spoofing superhero movies that were from when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not superhero movies now. So you don't really want, it doesn't really speak to the state of although you can do a spoof of superhero movies now. This is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It is a spoof of superhero movies that no longer get created. And I don't think that helps. And like we say, the comedy just doesn't hit a lot of the times. And these actors don't have the level of fame that they once had. So why would you go back to it?
Yeah.
There's no reason to be like, oh, well, there's this Ben Stiller movie that just made $300 million. Let's go back and watch some of his older stuff. It's not what's going on right now.
Right. I hear you. Okay. That works. I agree with that. So we're going to wrap up. So join us next week. We're going to be doing an older movie next week. We're doing a movie, King Creole. It's an Elvis film, which I hope we can find it. This was actually suggested to us by, I'm going to have his Twitter handle here, at IGGARYV. So I guess Gary V. His tag is GI Gary V. He is a contributor to the Pine of Comics podcast. We did, our second one was The Phantom. John Amenta from Pine Comics would suggest a Phantom. So I just read his Twitter handle here. Mostly kids' toys from the 80s, particularly G.I. Joe, some big boy toys too, and comics. Contributor to Pine O Comics. So I think he reviews, toys.
Yeah.
Toys from the 80s, which is fine because I'm a big G.I. Joe fan.
Go Joe.
I was actually, side note, I was telling my son about Thundercats, and he was like, "Oh, Thundercats, the new one." I go, "No, Thundercats, the old one." So then I showed him the opening for the old one, and then I forgot they did another one right at. They did. There's 3 of them. So there's
3 Thundercats?
Yes, there was one the old one from the 80s.
Yep.
And then it must have redid it maybe in the 90s or because it's the same song, but it's all updated. I don't know when they did it. And then the new one, which I'm sorry, but the new one's not for me, apparently.
Thunder.
Oh, God. This is called Thundercats Roar, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's not. No, I'm not. But anyways, so next week we're doing King Creole. It's an old 50s movie starring Elvis Presley. I have A, never heard of, and B, never seen. So this will be a good one. And that's why I think we chose it, just because we wanted to do something we both had never heard of before.
It's good to do an older film too.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah. So join us next week. Mike, where can everybody, I guess, find us if they want to find us anymore?
All right. Field's address is...
yeah. Not now.
Not find us. Oh, okay. Find our podcast. You can find our podcast on ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com. We have links to all of our older episodes as well as our merch store. And links to our social medias. You can find us on these social medias as well. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We are at the Forgotten Cinema Pod handle. We are available wherever podcasts can be found. You can find us on Spotify,
Apple
Podcasts, Pandora. You can even find us on YouTube now. We have put all of our shows up on the YouTube channel if you'd like.
Right now, yeah. Right as we do this, I have the first season. As we're recording this, I have the full first season on YouTube. As when you listen to this, I'm hopefully we'll have the other seasons up there.
We're 10 weeks ahead.
They take a long time, man. They take a long time. But yeah, we're trying to get them up there so everyone can see it. And it's really great that as soon as I upload it, I get a bot who goes, "Hey, man, nice movie, nice podcast, nice picture, nice movie." It's like, dude, it's a different. The guy has the same photo, and it's a different handle each time. Like, I'm not gonna understand that it's a bot. But anyways, regardless. Yeah, so that's it. So join us next week for King Creole. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day.
And don't forget to check out Paul on the Countdown Movies and TV Review podcast.
My name is Mike Field.
Good. I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.
Rage building. Rage growing. So much rage.
That's so awful.
No, rage subsiding.
Just go do that at the museum for. Paycheck.